What's up, everybody? We're the Creepy Couple. I'm Mike.
I'm Sam.
And today we're going to do our first horror movie review, 2020's Relic, which, did you say was produced or directed by Anthony Russo?
Yep. And Jake, what's his last name? Mysterio.
Oh, Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, I can never pronounce it, so I don't try.
I love this movie, first of all.
It was really good.
And before we continue, actually, spoilers.
Yeah.
We will be spoiling this movie.
Pleasantly surprised, to be really honest.
Yes.
I really was. It gave us a lot to think about at the end, because we were like, well, what the hell does all this mean? Like, because it's not...
It definitely made you question a lot.
Yeah, it's not ghost, it's not monster.
Not direct, it's not a slasher.
Yeah.
So just brief overview of what the movie's about. It's a family of women. Sam is the daughter, Kay is the mother, and Edna is the grandma.
Yes, who the story is mainly focused on. Obviously, all three of them is, but it is really about the grandma. They go to her house one day. She's gone. Can't find her. She has a lot of problems with memory and stuff like that. Obviously, from old age, Alzheimer's, dementia.
Yeah, they definitely lead to dementia.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, she just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And the mom is like, where have you been? And she's like, covered in like smudges and dirty and like... She just acts like nothing is wrong. And as the movie kind of progresses, you see strange things start happening around the house. She's acting strange.
One of the strangest things was actually right at the very beginning. It opens up around Christmas time, and she left the bathtub flooding.
And she's walking around the house naked.
NEKID grandma!
But one of the stranger things that you caught, actually, was a figure in the corner.
It was very discreet. She's like standing in her living room with the Christmas tree like over here, like dimly lit, and there's like a window in the back, and you just see like the shoulder and the arm and some of the torso, and you just see it kind of move, and then it cuts.
Mm-hmm. So that immediately made us think it was going to be more of a paranormal, straight-up ghost movie, but we were wrong. This movie is filled with subtlety. Key point being the mold.
Yes. And
like mildew and stuff. So all throughout the movie, you see that there's all this mold throughout her house.
Black mold.
Black mold throughout the house. And I don't know about you, I first assumed it was the reaction to her flooding the bathtub. And maybe doing that multiple times. And it just kind of built up to that. That's what I thought at first.
I thought it was, I've played a couple horror games and seen a couple movies where, like, mold or, like, this mass will start growing on certain things, walls and stuff, and, like, either demons or shit start coming out of it. That's what I thought it was. I thought there was evil in the house because throughout the movie, there's, like, flashbacks to this old cabin.
Yeah.
And this creature that you saw in the beginning of the movie, standing kind of off to the side, keeps appearing in that cabin. So I'm like, what shit did they build this house on?
Now, were those flashbacks, or was that all dreams?
Yeah, they like, you think it's a flashback because you see people in there.
Yeah.
And
Edna's in there at one point.
Yeah, Edna's in one point, and then the only other person I could assume is her husband.
And I think it was Kay's visions.
Yes, Kay was the one.
Kay was the one visioning it all. But going back to this mold, throughout the movie, we see the mold start to spread. So you see it in a couple little areas here. Probably the more well-known area was the front window. A window on the door that was it stained glass? In a way? Yeah, because it had a picture or whatever on it. And as the movie progresses, you see the mold start to take over that window more and more and more. And as the mold is growing, things are happening with Edna.
Yeah.
And she's definitely getting worse with her memory and how she's acting.
Yeah, she is. And like when the doctor comes and checks on her to see how she's doing after she appears after being gone and missing, she like thinks, she's like, you know, your daughter and your granddaughter should stay with you for a couple of days just to see how you are, and she thinks that's ridiculous. And it's like, it's really sad to see, but at first, honestly, remember we were like, is that even the grandma? When she started reacting in like violent ways, like she ripped the finger, she gave a ring to the granddaughter one night. obviously forgot. And when she saw the granddaughter wearing it, she freaked out and
Yeah.
was like, "What are you doing with that?" And
Claimed that she was stealing.
yeah,
Accused her
and
of
like
stealing,
tried ripping it off her finger to
Yeah.
the point where she hurt her and bruised
Yeah.
her finger up. And then she was eating the pictures of all her relatives.
Yeah,
her
so she
dog.
goes out to the woods and she's carrying a photo album, and Sam, or not Sam, Kay sees her and questions her, and she freaks out on her, and you see her start eating the actual photos as she was going to bury the photo album.
Yeah, she was like hiding them.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't want it taking anybody else.
Yeah. And another reason I think that you and I, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you and I felt that it might have been more demonic was when she was looking down a hallway. So there's a hallway there that Sam has gone through a few times, and it's a little iffy. You definitely hear and witness some weird stuff happening, but Edna's looking down it, and she says that things haven't been the same since her husband passed. So I don't know about you. I was thinking maybe, all right, she might have done some kind of witchcraft or something, some ritual, some kind of summoning to kind of bring him back or talk to him. Maybe it could have been as simple as a Ouija board, but after watching the rest of it, I don't think that was the case.
Yeah,
and I think maybe though.
Especially in that scene, remember under the bed, she sees it start breathing.
Oh my god! So you see that same figure that Sam was mentioning start breathing when it's under Edna's bed. So my whole thought with this whole thing was, I think that the whole movie was basically a metaphor for an exaggeration of dementia or Alzheimer's. Yeah. And I think maybe her husband was her anchor, kind of keeping her together, and then once he passed, the disease took over.
Yeah, and the way they portray it is the house like expands. Sam goes off
that
on her
hallway
own.
Specifically expands.
She goes down there because she finds out the neighbor's son got locked in that closet for hours, and like his like fingernails were torn because he was scratching at the door to get out, and the grandma didn't even realize he was locked in that room. So Sam started getting curious and went down the hallway, and all of a sudden she ended up in like an alternate universe where the same house was, but there's like sticky notes and stuff all over the place, and it's all notes written from Edna to remind her who she is and what she's doing.
And to just do simple tasks, which I would assume is fairly common for those that are suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's. But going down that far into the house, I don't know. And then you see her get lost. So I'm thinking that was probably metaphor for, this is kind of how you feel when you're dealing with that disease. You turn around, you don't know where you are, even in your own house.
Yeah. It was very PT when she was in the hallways.
Yeah. If you guys ever played or saw footage of PT, it was so much like that.
That's exactly what it reminded me of. Yeah. And the grandmother, as the movie's progressing, that black mold starts appearing on her, and it gets to the point where Sam is traveling through those tunnels and everything, and on the outside of it, Kay and Edna are like kind of like freaking out. Edna's totally freaking out. She's literally like tearing her chest apart because all the black mold is in there, and she's like hurting herself and
literally ripping her skin off on more than one occasion.
Yeah. And all the lights go out, of course. And
because it's a horror movie, so you kind of have to do that.
So Kay's trying to find the mom. She's trying to find Sam. She doesn't know where she is. And it progresses to where the mom and Edna end up in this same alternate place of the house as Sam is, but they're separated.
Yeah.
And like Sam is literally breaking through walls in the house to try and find them.
Yeah.
And eventually,
they do meet up.
Yeah, they find each other.
They do meet up. So
Edna's after them though, and she has a knife. No! But as she's going, she herself is decaying. Like literally, her bones are breaking. She's too brittle. She has to drag herself along.
When you find her with the knife, she's literally stabbing her face and tearing off her skin.
They found a way out. It's literally over the fireplace where the mold first originally started growing, where they noticed it.
Which was by the urn.
By where the grandfather's
where
ashes
the
are.
grandfather's ashes are in that urn. Again, kind of proving my point a little bit more, or further evidence, I should say, that he might have been the anchor in some fashion.
Yeah. So they get out, but obviously the grandma is still trying to get to them and attack them. And eventually Kay turns around and just kind of beats her up a little bit and kind of renders her unconscious, kind of. And they go to leave. And Sam is like, come on, let's go. We're out. And the mom stops and she's like, I can't leave her here.
There was a note, though, that was about love. Though.
Yeah, you are loved.
You are loved. And those notes, though, now that I'm thinking about it, actually, were written by Edna when she still had, full consciousness and full motor skills. She understood everything. And for that to come up then was kind of like Edna's psyche telling the mom, hey, even though I'm going through this right now, I still love you. I just don't have control over it.
Yeah.
And obviously then Kay feels bad and she says, no, I'm going to go help my mom.
She helps her upstairs, gets her into her room, and then all of a sudden, Kay starts peeling her skin off. Like, the grandma's skin, she's literally, from the back, she just starts peeling it open.
And leaves her a husk.
Yeah, it's literally the black mass that we've been seeing from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
At first, I didn't understand it, because what happens is Edna lays down, then the mom, and then Sam.
Yeah.
Sam gets back in the house. And it's just the three of them laying in a row. And it wasn't until you called me later that night and you were like, wait, what about this? And I was like, oh my God.
When I told her my theory about it being a metaphor.
It makes sense. The Alzheimer's or dementia, it will go from her to Kay to Sam.
And we saw that because Sam sees a little black spot on Kay's back.
It's progressing along.
Yeah. And now that I'm thinking about it, maybe because, the husk looked like that black figure, maybe that black figure was the husband. Maybe the husband had it, and that's how he passed.
Could have. It was a very well thought movie, and they did a really good job on it. And it was creepy and kept you at the edge of your seat without it being ghosts or monsters.
Yeah, it's not a typical horror movie. It's not like Jason coming out and just killing a bunch of teenagers, and it's not even like something like The Conjuring that's so much more direct. Where here's a demon that we need to fight that's causing all these supernatural issues. And it wasn't even that scary, It didn't kind of rely on jump scares or anything like that. It was very unsettling. Yeah. And it made you think, though, and it was a bit of a slower build-up because I was kind of like, at first. I don't know how you felt.
No, it definitely was a slow build-up, but
once it gets you, you kind of start thinking, well, why is this the case? And then the ending, though, that we just explained, just puts it all together, and you are completely invested at that point. Now you're thinking all these different theories.
It took something that a lot of people deal with, and it's a terrible thing, and they made it into this metaphorical movie and gave it a horror aspect because, it's a horror to some people, and
it's a terrifying concept.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking to see anybody you love deal with it. And it's heartbreaking to deal with it yourself, probably.
Somebody with mental illness, using a concept of monsters and stuff and horror to relay what it feels like, what it looks like, what you're going through. That's a very interesting concept to me, and I really, really like that.
It gives some kind of personification to something up here. Because anybody from the outside looking in doesn't understand something like that.
But I think as a movie that touches on such a delicate, terrible topic, I definitely would recommend it to other people.
And I think it's so well written, and I definitely want to watch it again. Now that I have these assumptions, and now that I have this kind of hypothesis, I definitely want to look at it more and dive into it a little deeper and see if I could come up with more evidence proving my thoughts. Thank you all for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and stay tuned for some more horror reviews. Take care.
Bye.